If you're lucky enough to have a pension, retirement really should feel simple. But in reality, for most people, it actually feels more confusing. Most people either delay claiming their pension or second guess every move, or rush in without understanding how their pension fits into their broader plan. And that confusion can lead to permanent six-figure mistakes that lock you into lower income, raise your taxes, or cause you to outlive your resources. Getting this right isn't just about maximizing dollars, it's about giving yourself true peace of mind in retirement. So in today's video, we'll cover 5 essentials: the hidden pitfalls that can turn guaranteed pensions into a financial trap, how to choose wisely between a lump sum payout and a lifetime annuity, offer strategies to protect your pension from inflation, talk about picking the right survivor benefit for you and your spouse, and how to coordinate your pension with Social Security and tax planning. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear step-by-step roadmap to integrate your pension into your overall retirement plan and eliminate uncertainty, maximize your income, and give you the confidence to retire on your terms. Plus, I'll even share a link to my free retirement guide to help you put these strategies into action. But first, I'm Robert Gilliland, founder and managing director of Concenture Wealth. For over 20 years, I've helped hundreds of clients retire comfortably and worked side by side with dozens of pension recipients to avoid the common missteps that turn a dream benefit into a lifetime of regret. Let's begin by debunking the biggest myth of all. That is, a pension is simply set and forget. So first of all, when you're thinking about taking a pension, you have to understand that once you start that income, it continues. And so you have to be keenly aware about once you start to collect Social Security, will it reset or adjust downward, which a lot of pensions do. The other thing is that taking that pension, and as you go forward and you're doing planning down the road, when you have all of these assets in retirement accounts, your required minimum distributions may make it so that you actually end up going up in a tax bracket. So your tax brackets, depending on the size of pension, is something that you have to pay attention to make sure that you have the greatest control. The other thing about it being set and forget is that you lose, when you take a pension, you lose the ability to change that amount. So you lose your flexibility, and we always say flexibility equals freedom. Next is, should I take a lump sum or should I take these series of payments? This is what I'm going to tell you about it. You have to look at both of those, and you have to look at both of them and which one do you end up with the most money. Look, when people go and retire, we find the people who have the greatest enjoyment and happiness in life are the people who have the greatest amount of guaranteed income. A pension offers that to you. However, I would tell you that people who have the ability to take a lump sum, a lot of times when they come to talk to us, they say, oh no, I'm going to take the lump sum, but haven't looked at what that exactly means. We bump into a lot of people that end up with more money, more guaranteed income later in life by taking the pension. It is vitally important to go and look and to see which one gives you the greatest amount of flexibility, but which one also gives you the greatest amount of net worth. Taking that pension may mean that you may be able to delay taking Social Security, which will increase your income. Vitally important to evaluate the pros and cons of taking a lump sum versus that annuity, and don't come in with any preconceived notions until you actually understand the numbers. Pitfall number 3 is inflation, cost of living adjustments. As we all know, Social Security has a guaranteed cost of living adjustment. It goes up with inflation every year. When you're looking at pensions, generally speaking, they do not take into account cost of living adjustments. That's why you have to be very, very clear and have a plan. If you take that pension, whether or not you have sufficient assets to make up for the cost of living going up. And let's face it, especially over the last several years, we've seen cost of living go up a lot more than planned. Next, this is something that's vitally important, and that is survivorship protection. If you are married, you want to make sure that you're evaluating whether or not, if something were to happen to you, because you're going to be receiving the pension, is your wife or your spouse going to have a major financial setback because that pension goes away. We've seen people say they want to take the 100% pension, which ends at their life. It can be a terrible mistake if you predecease your spouse and you both are used to living on that amount. That's where you have to evaluate which level, whether it's a 75% to the surviving spouse or a 50% to the surviving spouse, or if you take the lump sum, you need to evaluate all those different facets and stress test them to make sure that your family is well taken care of in the event that something untimely happens to you. Number 5 is let's talk about what happens or what you need to take into account when it comes to Social Security, as well as that annuity payment from your company. There's a couple things you need to be aware of. If you choose to take Social Security younger than full retirement age, you could end up, because of that pension, having to pay more tax on your Social Security. So you need to be aware, because those pensions are taxed as ordinary income. One thing also that is a plus when you're looking at guaranteed income and taking a pension is it may give you the ability to delay taking your Social Security. When you go and take that every year past full retirement age, it goes up to age 70. You have to go through and look at the numbers when you're evaluating, should I take a pension, should I take a lump sum, and you have to incorporate what Social Security and when you collect that come into play. And as an extra bonus, we're going to call this 5A, or 5 with an asterisk, if you will. That is when you take an annuity payment that may afford you the ability to be able to do Roth conversions. If you have that ability, and it absolutely makes sense, which may at some point in retirement give you greater flexibility as well as tax-free income. You have to take that pension payment, your Social Security, and everything into account, as well as the amount of assets that you have that are in retirement accounts. And it may make sense to do a Roth conversion. Your plan needs to incorporate all of those and going through and determining whether or not should you take the pension or should you take the lump sum payment. So just to go through and recap, remember, a pension is not a set and forget. There are ins and outs. You have to understand about your flexibility and freedom and exactly what it means for you. You have to evaluate whether or not taking the lump sum or the pension is actually what's best for you and for your family. When you're going through looking at a pension, number 3 is pay attention to cost of living adjustments and what that means. How is inflation going to impact your ability to be able to maintain your lifestyle? 4, a big one is pay attention to the survivor's benefit, that is. You want to evaluate which benefit is the best to ensure that your family doesn't have to make those hard financial decisions if something were to happen to you. And number 5, make sure you're coordinating your pension with Social Security. Understand that when you take Social Security, your pension may drop. Make sure that you understand what that's actually going to mean if you start to collect Social Security early when it comes to the taxation of that. And as our bonus, we talked about making sure you understand by taking a pension or having a lump sum what your choices are with regard to converting some of those retirement dollars into tax-free income in retirement to give you that added flexibility and freedom. So if you want to see how you can turn these strategies into a personalized plan, click the link below to book a free portfolio assessment with me and our team, and we'll walk through your actual pension numbers so you can retire with absolute confidence. And don't forget to download my free retirement guide, which will help you put together what we've talked about today into action. We'll see you in the next video.